Most developers have no idea how to get hired remotely. I made a free training showing you the exact steps. Unlock it for free in the description. Now you know what is a loop, you're ready to implement your first loop. So the first type of loop that I want to show you is the for loop. Okay, basically the for loop is a structure where you define the items that you want to iterate through them and what you want to do based on that. In this situation here, we have a security guard in front of a party asking the people that are in the queue their names and checking if this first person that is in the first position of the queue can join the party. If this person's name is in the list, this person can enter the party. So the first thing we need is to represent this data structure, right? So the queue, that is basically the people that are trying to enter the party. So they are John, Mary, Joseph, and Carlos. Okay, and the other data structure that we need is the guest list, right? So guests, who are the people that were invited to this party? John, Mary, and Carlos. We can see that Joseph is not here, right? So probably Joseph is not going to enter the party. Anyway, so we need basically to iterate through this list right here that we are going to call queue, right? And this queue, basically, we are going to check name by name, item by item. And in Python, we have the for loop that helps us to do this in the most simple way that is possible, right? So for queue in queue, do something. This structure, this simple line of code, is going to iterate through the list queue, right? And this position right here, I called queue, but I could call anything, person, name. I could name this underscore because it doesn't matter for me the name of this variable. Okay, this variable right here represents the item of the position that is being iterated. Usually I name it the first letter of the object that I'm iterating over it. So I'm iterating over this queue, through this queue. So the position is going to be Q, all right, the first letter. But I know these are the name of the people that are in the queue, so I could name it name, or I could simply name nothing, okay, just an underscore to represent the position. Okay, in this case I'm going to name it name, and you are going to see that this is going to be iterated through each item. Okay, let's just print name for you to see the loop happening. So when it accesses this position, it's going to print. When it accesses this position, it's going to print. Okay, and let's add a breakpoint and run as debugger for you to visualize the iterations happening. Okay, using the for loop. So let's wait this to start. All right, so now we can see that all of the names were printed. So with this simple line of code, I iterated over every item of this list and printed their names, right? And again, I could name it like Q and print Q. Basically, the value that is in the position that is being accessed is going to be attributed to this variable, and we can manipulate that position individually. Let's clean the console, and now let's run using the breakpoint. Let's debug, because in this case I want you to visualize the iterations happening. Okay, so we are going to see now that in the first execution we just stopped here, and we can see that key in Q is basically John. Can you see here? Q is the list, and Q, the letter Q, is John. If I go to the next step using F10, you can see that it came back for the previous line, because this is a loop. So John was printed, but now we are going to press F10 again, and you're going to see that we are doing the same thing, but now with the next position of the queue, that is Mary, right? And remember, I'm not talking about the data structure queue. I'm talking about the queue itself, the persons, the people that are one after other waiting to enter the party, right? If we talk about data structure, we're talking about a list, all right? You already know that this is a list, okay? But anyway, if I keep pressing F10, you're going to see that we are going to be getting back to the previous line, and the next, and the previous, and the next, and we can clearly visualize the loop structure going on here, okay? So this is the best way to visualize the loops, in my opinion, using the debug, and you can see what happens inside of the loop. But here we just printed the position. We could do other things with that position. If we access that position, we can check, all right? So if I add here a condition like if Q in guests, I can print can enter, else print cannot enter. Pretty simple. So let's see now who can enter and who cannot enter. We have the loop that iterates through the queue. As we are using the for loop, we are attributing each value to the variable Q. So previously we printed the value, but now we are going to check the value. If the value is in the other list, if it is, can enter. If it's not, cannot enter. We are basically coding the situation where the security guard checks the next person. We just basically coded this, asking the next person's name, checking if the name is in the list, and if the person's name is in the list, we allow this person to enter the party. If it's not, we don't. Okay? We just coded this situation here. All right? Let's run and see. In fact, let's improve this. Let's put the name of the person here. Q can enter. Q cannot enter. Let's change the name to be more readable, but for you to also see that the name that you put here doesn't really matter. Okay, so name cannot enter, name can enter. Let's run this and see what happens. So John can enter. Let's see if it's right. John is in the queue and is in the lists. John is in the queue and is in the guests list. Mary can enter because she's in both. But let's see, Joseph cannot enter. When we checked if the name Joseph is in the guests list, it wasn't. So Joseph cannot enter. So this is how the for loop works. Basically, you can execute the same step as many times as you want. In this case, this queue now have 4 people, but people keep coming to the party. 5 minutes from now, we can have more 10 people and more 1,000 people. Anyway, the amount of items that we have in this list is going to be the amount of times that the loop is going to iterate through the object, through this list in this case that we called queue. In the beginning it's a little bit confusing, but you are going to understand when you practice. But you need to see the power here. If this list had 1,000 people, instead of doing this like if queue 0 in guests 0 in guests print can enter, instead of doing this 1,000 times, we basically did this because it is going to repeat as many times as it's needed and finishes when reach the end of the list, when there's no more items to check. It is going to finish. All right, usually the loops must have a trigger to finish. In this case, the last item of this guests list is the trigger, right? When it reaches the last item, it stops to repeat. But instead of guests, we could have any list here, or any iterable object, an object that allows you to iterate over it. For example, if I want to count from 1 to 10, like I could like write a for loop for underscore in range 0 10. Basically, I'm going to reiterate over a list, right? The output of range 0 10 is a list of 10 numbers, and I could print the underscore that represents the position of that list. So let's run this to see what happens. Python loops.py, and we can see that we count from 0 to 9. We have counted from 0 to 9. So if I change 1 to 11, now it's going to count from 1 to 10. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 and 10. But if I change this to 10, you can see that Python is going to tell me that we have a problem here. Let's try to run this. It is not possible, because for us to be able to iterate over an object, this object must be an iterable object, and 10 is an integer. Iterable objects are basically objects that has many positions. So, for example, a list. All right. So this is the for loop, one of the most important repetition structures that we have in Python. But in the next topic, I'm going to show you another type of loop. Stay with me and let's do it. I've been working remotely for 7 years and I created a free training teaching you how to get hired as a remote developer. Unlock it for free in the description.